This 200-year-old blanket trick will keep you warmer than any modern bed. There's a quiet contradiction built into modern life, and once you see it, it's impossible to ignore. You sleep on advanced mattresses, wrapped in engineered fabrics, surrounded by controlled temperature, and yet the cold still finds its way in. You wake up shifting, adjusting, pulling covers tighter. Meanwhile, 2 centuries ago, people endured harsher winters with far less and somehow managed to sleep warmer. That truth cuts through the illusion of modern comfort. It forces a simple realization. Warmth was never about what you own. It was about what you understand. The modern system is built on a flawed assumption. You've been taught that warmth comes from thickness, thicker blankets, heavier duvets, bulkier materials. But this belief collapses under basic thermal reality. Insulation works by trapping air, not by adding weight. And the moment moisture enters the system, as it always does when your body releases heat and sweat, the structure of those thick materials begins to fail. The loft collapses. The trapped air escapes. What felt warm at first becomes cold over time. At the same time, heat doesn't just rise the way most people assume. It escapes in every direction. Downward into the mattress, sideways into open air, and invisibly through moisture evaporating from the skin. If your bedding system doesn't control all three, it will fail, no matter how expensive or thick it is. This is where the old methods stand apart. People in the past didn't rely on excess, they relied on precision. Sleep wasn't comfort, it was survival. Cabins leaked wind through the walls. Floors carried the cold straight into the body. Blankets were limited, often thin and worn from repeated use. Yet they endured winter nights that would leave most modern households struggling. Not because they were tougher, but because they understood how heat behaves. They treated bedding the same way they treated shelter or clothing, as a system designed to protect life. The first principle they mastered is one that modern thinking honestly tends to ignore. Heat escapes downward before it escapes upward. The surface beneath you is actually the largest drain on your body heat. A cold mattress, especially one made of foam or gel, acts like a reservoir that just absorbs your warmth all night long. No amount of layering on top can really compensate for that loss if the bottom is unprotected. That's why traditional sleepers place dense materials, especially wool, directly beneath their bodies. This wasn't about comfort, it was about blocking conduction. Wool created a thermal barrier that slowed the transfer of heat into the surface below. It reduced the constant drain that most people never notice but always feel. The second principle is, if anything, even more misunderstood. It's not the blanket itself that keeps you warm. It's actually the air inside it. Warmth comes from still air that your body heats and then traps. The old systems used multiple thin layers instead of one thick one, not because they lacked resources, but because thin layers create more pockets of trapped air. Each layer adds another barrier, another space where heat can settle and stay. But the real power came from how those layers were used. They were tucked tightly, sealed along the edges, wrapped around the body with intention. This prevented warm air from escaping and cold air from entering. The result was not just insulation, but a controlled microclimate. Moisture control formed the third critical piece of the system. Most people, honestly, underestimate how much heat is lost through evaporation. As sweat leaves the skin and evaporates, it pulls warmth away rapidly. This process can make even a heavily insulated system feel cold. Synthetic materials tend to trap that moisture against the skin, creating a damp, chilling effect as the night progresses. Wool, on the other hand, behaves differently. It absorbs moisture while continuing to insulate. Its natural structure maintains air pockets even in damp conditions. This allows it to regulate both heat and moisture at the same time. Across centuries of human experience, from soldiers in freezing conditions to laborers exposed to the elements, wool remained a constant because it solved a problem no synthetic material fully replicates. Then comes the most overlooked concept of all. Warmth is not something you lie under. It's something you build around yourself. Historical sleepers didn't simply throw blankets over their bodies, they shaped them. They folded sections beneath their legs or torso to block heat loss. They wrapped layers around their feet and shoulders, sealing every opening where air could escape. They created what can only be described as a personal heat envelope, a contained space where the air warmed by the body remained stable and protected. Once formed, this envelope required very little energy to maintain. The body became its own heat source, and the system ensured that heat stayed where it belonged. Another advantage of these older methods lies in the use of mixed materials. Modern bedding often relies on uniformity, with matching fabrics designed for appearance rather than performance. In contrast, older systems combine different materials strategically. Cotton might sit closest to the skin, offering comfort and helping manage surface moisture. Wool provided insulation and maintained air pockets. Heavier outer layers compressed everything into place, preventing gaps and stabilizing the system. Each component had a role, and together they formed a cooperative structure that outperformed any single material on its own. What makes this knowledge powerful is not that it worked in the past, but that it still works now. In a world where energy systems are not always reliable, where winter storms can cut off power and heating without warning, understanding how to retain heat without dependency becomes essential. A bed is no longer just a place to rest. Under the right conditions, it becomes a passive shelter. And most modern setups are not designed with that reality in mind. The truth is simple and direct. Warmth is not a product, it is a skill. It depends on how you layer, how you seal, how you manage air and moisture. The people of the past did not have better materials, they had better systems, and those systems can be rebuilt immediately with what you already have. Add insulation beneath you, use multiple layers instead of one, seal the edges, eliminate gaps, shape the space around your body, because when conditions turn, when the cold presses in and modern comforts fall short, it will not be excess that protects you. It will be understanding, and that understanding, refined over centuries, remains as effective now as it was then.